Hey YouTube, and welcome back to episode 2 of Scrims for Dummies. In today's video, I'll be covering how to approach off-spawn fights and a few tips and tricks to give you that instant edge on your opponents. I can almost guarantee there's a few tips you haven't seen before, so I encourage you to stick around for the whole video. Without further ado, let's get right into it. The first step in winning the early game is winning your drop. Like I said in my previous video, it is essential to practice your drop over and over and over. A bad drop can put you at a disadvantage right away. But, as we all know, not every game is perfect. So if you do mess up your drop, here are a few things you should do. Try not to 50-50. Letting RNG decide your game is never the best option in any scenario. However, if you do get 50-50'd on a chest, try to position yourself on the right side of the chest, as the gun always pops out on the right side. If you know someone has a better drop than you, and is going for the same spot, try to bail to an alternate building or land on a gun somewhere else. Try and learn some creative ways to recover from a scuff drop at your location. Here are a few I've seen before. First is the chest in the shops at retail. Instead of running in the main doors of the store, hit the canopy and bench, and it should be enough materials to build a cone and sneak you through the window and grab that chest first. This next trick is pretty difficult, and it should really only be used if you're desperate. But if you land at a house where the door is placed more toward one side and the wall above has a window, you can open the door outward and grab the loot in the top room. Again, this trick is pretty difficult and very risky, so I wouldn't rely on it. But if all goes well and you have a good drop, here are a few things you should do. If you manage to get a gun before your opponents even land, try to tag them out of the air a few times. Just one tag can be enough to get in their head and prevent them from pushing you. Also, try to use the building layouts to your advantage. Try to sneak some tags through windows while your opponent is looting. Know your drop spot. If you have decent loot and know your opponent has only looted a few floor loot spawns, it may be a good time to push. Even if you have the perfect drop, but don't get enough loot that you feel comfortable fighting right away, don't force the fight. Try to stall the fight to keep looting or disengage to try and loot somewhere else nearby. Only force a fight if you know you have the advantage. For example, if you get a shotgun and shield or SMG and shield, push immediately. Don't give your opponent time to loot more or even disengage. Next, what should you do once you are in a fight? My first tip is use mats conservatively. Don't forget to farm every piece of furniture while you're looting. Having a few more builds than your opponent can win you the fight alone. Also, try to reuse old builds. Not just when fighting, but especially if you have to heal. The extra hits or shots your opponent has to take to break the fully built metal or brick walls could buy you enough time to pop your shields or meds. My next tip is to play to your loadout strength. Listen to what kind of loadout your opponent has. If you hear he has a shotgun and you only have an AR, try to keep the fight from a distance. If you hear he has a heavy sniper, make sure to hold your walls if he drops down. If you hear he has an RPG, try to use already built structures to defend the rockets and help conserve your mats. If you loot every ammo box and have 200 AR ammo, don't be afraid to use it. Try to run your opponent out of mats. My third tip is be unpredictable. Try to keep your opponent guessing as much as you can. Use natural cover when you can and try to sneak around to get shots from unexpected angles. If you get in an AR battle with your opponent, the way you peek is very important. Try not to peek with the ramp facing to the side of where you're trying to shoot. Doing this only allows you to peek from one spot. Your opponent will be expecting that and will most likely headshot you as soon as you peek. Instead, try to peek with your ramp facing your opponent. This will give you a much wider range of places you can peek, and your opponent won't know where you're going to peek from. My last tip for off-spawn fights is using builds to bait your opponents. Here's a clip of Assault Jayth fighting TSM Macwood off-spawn. Jayth outplays Macwood here by placing a few extra builds to bait Macwood into thinking that he is leaving. Because Macwood sees this, he doesn't cover his head when ramping up, and Jayth gets a free tag on Macwood. Off-spawn fights like a chess match. Everyone has limited guns, ammo, and mats. Yes, there's some RNG to it, but outsmarting your opponents can help you drastically in the early game. Well guys, that's going to be all for this one. Don't forget, episode 3 will be out Monday. I'll be covering how to play mid-game. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new so you don't miss it. Also, if you want to support me even more, you can use code Milano when buying skins in the item shop. Shout out to all these people who use my code. I really do appreciate it. Don't forget, if you want a shout out in my next video, just send me a picture of you using my code on Twitter or Instagram, and I'll add you to the list. I will see you all on Monday. Peace.